I watched the Media Zealot YouTube channel a long time ago and saw his take on some evil but foolish organizations such as the First Order and the Umbrella Corporation. And I thought to myself, why would people join and support villainous organizations like the Umbrella Corporation from Resident Evil, Vought International from The Boys, the First Order from Star Wars? In this video, I'm going to give brief description on all four evil organizations and give some social commentary on some of the methods they use to gain and brainwash their followers into hopping on the bandwagon and contribute to the degradation of their society. For example, Hydra most likely grown in power and influence after Thanos did the snap with less heroes and less shield agents. It was the perfect time to take advantage of the chaos and disarray for Hydra to grow in power. Not only that, the First Order's fanatical armies rising from the ashes of Palpatine's empire, the stories show us little to nothing about inner workings of the First Order. We were led to assume the First Order was just made from the remnants of the former empire, but it's still very unclear. I also questioned why so many simpletons are so devotedly loyal to such an evil organization whose methods are clearly harmful to people and spread hate, pain, and suffering. In the movies, the only people trying to stop the First Order was the General Organa and the Resistance. The New Republic and free agents throughout the galaxy did not want to get involved. It was the New Republic duty to enforce law and order throughout the galaxy. But due to New Republic's incompetence, negligence, or convoluted politics, which the First Order took advantage of and gained unbelievable power, the rest of the galaxy saw it as it's only them getting hurt and it's none of my business, and they quietly looked the other way. The ramifications of the blatant disregard of the countless crimes of the First Order had catastrophic consequences that were felt throughout the galaxy. The fictional evil organizations that helped contribute to either decline of their civilizations and ultimate extinction of the human race in these fictional worlds due to greed, unchecked desire for power, control, and corporate overreach is what I want to explore in this video. We are going to explain some of the dark manipulation tactic the evil fictional organizations may use to trap people in their control and theorize how to recognize when it may be used on you. For starters, how does a person become a willing part of a cult like group or organization they know is evil? Let's start with Hydra, which is a paramilitary subversive organization within the Marvel Cinematic Universe that operates on the foundational belief that humanity cannot be trusted with its own freedom. Emerging from the shadows of World War II, the group's philosophy evolved into a sophisticated form of corporate authoritarianism, infiltrating high-level government agencies like S.H.I.E.L.D. for decades. Their ultimate goal is the establishment of a new world order through Project Insight, a global surveillance and strike system designed to preemptively eliminate anyone perceived as a threat to their stability. By orchestrating international conflicts and socio-political chaos, Hydra seeks to manufacture a world so dangerous that the public will willingly surrender their liberties in exchange for the protection of a totalitarian regime. While the MCU focused on Hydra's political infiltration, the comic book lore reveals that the organization actually began as an ancient death cult dedicated to a powerful parasitic inhuman named Hive. Created by the Kree as a living weapon, Hive possessed the ability to infect the minds of other Inhumans and inhabit the corpses of humans, making him a supreme leader of the collective. Because his power was so immense and his herd mentality so absolute, he was eventually banished to a distant, desolate planet called Maveth. For centuries, the true believers within Hydra, the heads that remained hidden behind the modern facade of science and war, worked in secret to find a way to reopen the portal and bring Hive back to Earth. Their ultimate goal was to facilitate his return so that he could unite the world under a single perfect hive mind, stripping away human individuality and free will to achieve a global peace peace, where everyone exists solely to serve his collective consciousness. From a social perspective, Hydra serves as a chilling case study in institutional groupthink and radicalization. Hydra's strength lies in its ability to camouflage itself within existing bureaucratic structures, convincing otherwise good people to commit atrocities under the guise of security and order. Their motto, "Cut off one head, two more shall take its place," reflects a collective identity where the individual is completely expendable to the survival of the ideology. This demonstrates a dangerous level of de-individuation, where members justify their actions through a shared illusion of morality, believing that their global conquest is a necessary sacrifice to bring peace to a chaotic situation. How do Hydra gains and keeps members when their whole aim is strip freedoms and liberty from people and put a mind-controlling alien named Hive on a pedestal? Hive is an ancient, powerful inhuman who was banished from Earth to the planet Maveth by other inhumans thousands of years ago. Hive is a parasitic, tentacled organism that infests the bodies of the dead and takes them over as a host, maintaining the memories of the deceased, which means that Hive would have been overpowered in the Marvel zombie world where everyone was undead. If the MCU had connected Hydra's true leader Hive with being the mastermind behind the Marvel zombies, that would have give more depth to the story. Maybe Film Theory Channel might make a theory about that if they have not already done so. Anyways, Hydra normally recruit members and slowly brainwash them to have full loyalty to Hydra. They find people who are looking for a sense of purpose, safety, or order, and then they slowly replace that person's morality with the Hydra ideology. They market Hydra to being a prestigious institution willing to do what it takes to get things done. They presented themselves as the only ones capable of giving the powerless the tools to fight back against their oppressors. That's how they make it seem. In truth, Hydra creates the problem and then sells people the solution, similar to the Umbrella Corporation, which will be mentioned later in this video. By the time Hydra followers realized who they were working for, they were already complicit in crimes, making it impossible to leave, which forces them to continue committing atrocities and continue to help cover up others' atrocities as a means of self-preservation. Hydra often use the straw man fallacy, which occurs when someone ignores a person's actual position and substitutes it with an exaggerated, oversimplified, or misrepresented version to make it easier to attack. By creating this straw version of the argument, the manipulator can knock it down easily and claim a victory that never actually addressed the opponent's real points. Hydra agents within S.H.I.E.L.D. misrepresented the concept of personal privacy as a selfish desire for chaos that directly threatened the safety of every innocent citizen. By framing the debate as a choice between absolute surveillance or inevitable global catastrophe, they successfully attacked a distorted version of freedom to make their totalitarian worldview appear like the only logical solution. The next evil group we are going to cover is the First Order. The First Order is a literal and ideological successor to the Galactic Empire, born from the remnants of the Imperial military that fled into the unknown regions after their defeat at Endor. Unlike the original Empire, which functioned as a vast established bureaucracy, the First Order operates with the fervor of a militarized cult. Their identity is built on a narrative of victimization and stolen glory, fueled by a deep-seated hatred for the New Republic's perceived disorder. Their ultimate goal is the total annihilation of the democratic New Republic and the restoration of a centralized absolute autocracy. Through the construction of Starkiller Base, they sought to achieve a new empire, believing that only by wiping out entire planetary systems can they force the galaxy into a state of perfect submissive harmony. From a social analysis perspective, the First Order is a masterclass in generational radicalization and the indoctrination of youth. While the Empire recruited adults, the First Order kidnapped young people to raise them in a vacuum of propaganda, stripping them of their birth names and replacing them with serial numbers like FN2187. This creates a profound sense of de-individuation, where the soldiers' only sense of belonging comes from their rank and their service to Supreme Leader Snoke. This organization thrives on echo chamber dynamics. By isolating their forces in the cold reaches of space, they ensured that no outside perspective could challenge the in-group belief that they were the heroes of the story. They represent the herd mentality at its most dangerous, a collective that doesn't just follow orders, but has been biologically and psychologically engineered to lack the very concept of dissent. The First Order uses a few logical fallacies that work way more often than you would think. The first is playing the victim narrative, where the First Order will commit awful offenses, then deny doing anything, followed by attacking the Princess Leia's resistance and the Republic as the enemy, and making up accusations while doubling down on their propaganda. Because most people are naturally wired to help a victim. By framing themselves as the victim, a villainous organization triggers the protective instinct of the herd. The herd then stops looking at the evidence of the crime and starts focusing on defending the group from unfair accusations. The second is the halo effect, where they deem themselves as having moral immunity to any harm that the cause because they're trying to return the Empire back to its rightful place in controlling the galaxy. The First Order portrayed the New Republic's liberation of the galaxy as a violent act of aggression against the stability and heritage of the former Empire. By framing their own militant campaign as a necessary defense against the perceived chaos of democracy, by doing this they attempted to reverse the roles of offender and victim to justify their expansion. DARVO is an acronym used to describe a common manipulation strategy where a wrongdoer attempts to evade accountability by flipping the script on their accuser. It was first defined by psychologist Dr. Jennifer Freed in 1997 as a key component of betrayal trauma. Both Hydra and First Order use brainwashing and groupthink to gain and keep members in their ranks. By ensuring that everyone involved shares in the sin, injustice, and blame, they create an environment where if they get held accountable, then everyone would be punished since they are guilty all the same. The next evil group we are going to cover is the Umbrella Corporation is the quintessential corporate cult, a multinational pharmaceutical conglomerate that serves as a chilling example of unchecked technocracy. While publicly known for consumer products and medical breakthroughs, its true heart lies in the illegal development of bioorganic weapons, such as the T-virus. Unlike traditional villains who seek power for its own sake, Umbrella operates under a cold, scientific stupidity that views the entire human population as an expendable test group. Their ultimate goal, particularly under the leadership of Albert Wesker and the Red Queen AI, evolved from simple military profiteering into a radical vision of global evolution. They sought to trigger a controlled apocalypse that would wipe out the weak and leave behind a world populated only by a genetically superior elite, effectively rebooting human civilization with Umbrella as its undisputed architect. From a social perspective, Umbrella is a masterclass in morally bankrupted corporate overreach. The corporation's structure is built on extreme compartmentalization. Thousands of employees contributed to world-ending viruses while believing they were merely working on better healthcare medications and human evolution. This is a classic example of the sunk cost fallacy. The sunk cost fallacy describes the psychological tendency to continue a series of bad decisions or bad investments based on the resources already committed to it, rather than evaluating that the cost outweighed the little potential for future benefits. This leads individuals or organizations to persist in a failing or dangerous course of action simply because they feel that stopping now would mean all previous efforts and costs were wasted. In the Resident Evil films, the Umbrella Corporation fell victim to this fallacy by pouring billions of dollars and decades of research into the T-virus, believing the ends justified the means, regardless of the catastrophic leaks. Even as the virus began to consume entire cities, the board of directors refused to terminate the program, believing that they had sacrificed too much corporate reputation and capital to walk away without a perfected biological product. Even after their world was nearing to an end, that recklessly continued to run dangerous experiments on the last few survivors and clones. This desperate desperate need to justify their massive historical investment blinded them to the reality that their progress was actually accelerating the total extinction of the human race. This is very similar to the effect AI has had on our real world. Umbrella Corporation from Resident Evil engineered an apocalypse which could have easily been avoided, but they kept doubling down after spending egregious amounts of money and ruining the life of many people in order to achieve their radical goals. Umbrella started with a few scientists finding a flower that had a rare virus called the progenitor virus that helped the flower regenerate dead cells to repair itself. The scientists wanted to see if they could use the progenitor virus and re-engineer it to be used as a biological weapon. One of the scientists got more ambitious and wanted to use the progenitor virus along with the other created virus strains such as the T virus, G virus, Ouroboros virus, and other strains to create an extreme mutation, forced evolutions, repair dead tissue in order to make superhumans with immortality. Anyone who prevented or argued against his goals were often quietly dealt with in various ways. After all the decent-minded people were dealt with, the Umbrella Corporation scaled up virus production and refined the virus to be even more dangerous than before. They started making bioorganic creatures to be used as weapons in order to replace human soldiers, which is where Umbrella Corp started the Nemesis Project, which was a Frankenstein-looking monster that Umbrella tried to pass as a super soldier. By fostering an internal culture of innovation at any cost, Umbrella created an environment where the group's drive for progress completely outpaced any common sense. This resulted in a collective delusion of grandeur, where the scientists viewed their horrific experiments not as crimes, but as something they were entitled to, proving that a polished corporate image can be the most effective tool for mass brainwashing. This is where Umbrella went off the deep end. They had already violated countless civil, criminal, and international laws up to include human rights violations. Every attempt at holding Umbrella accountable was met with silence, cover-ups, and vanishing evidence. Umbrella Corporation inevitably and finally started to decline with various failed containment breaches. Similar to SCP containment breaches, there were deadly and completely chaotic. Thankfully, Umbrella corruption could not protect them forever. Umbrella did try to double down on pulling favors from powerful allies to get themselves out of the mess they were in, but it all failed in the end after a massive lawsuit for the monstrous experiments and corporate negligence conducted in Raccoon City. The next evil group we are going to cover is Vought International, another pharmaceutical company that was a masterclass in propaganda in the marketing and entertainment industry, a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate that has successfully commodified the concept of heroism. While the public perceives Vought as a talent management agency for the world's greatest protectors, the organization is actually a pharmaceutical and defense contractor that secretly manufactured soups using Compound V. Their ultimate goal is not the preservation of peace, but the acquisition of absolute political power. By lobbying for soup integration into the mainstream, Vought seeks to become an indispensable arm of the government, ensuring a monopoly on global security where they control both the threats, which they often manufacture, and the solutions. From a social analysis perspective, Vought is a masterclass in brand-driven groupthink and the cult of personality. The organization operates through extreme social monitoring, where every hero is a product whose morality is dictated by Q ratings and social media trends rather than ethics. This creates an environment of keeping up appearances and spinning the narrative. Employees and soups alike are so terrified of losing their brand or facing the wrath of the unstable Homelander that they participate in horrific cover-ups to maintain the illusion of the Vought family. This demonstrates how a corporate herd mentality can be enforced through the fear of social or professional cancellation, leading to a collective illusion of morality where the bottom line, profit, and public perception is the only true North Star. The boys with Vought International. Vought sold people on their soups as gods walking among us, but it's all a performance. performance. Behind the capes and the camera flashes is a culture of deep corruption, intimidation, and a total disregard for human life. All of the evil organizations mentioned in this video are similar in that they convince naive, gullible people that their monstrous actions are not only justified but necessary. Some of the dark manipulation tactics the mentioned evil fictional organizations used are logical fallacies within the court of public opinion. One such logical fallacy is poisoning the well, which is a preemptive logical fallacy where a person or organization provides negative information about a target to an audience before that target has a chance to speak. The goal is to discredit anything the target might say in the future by making them appear inherently untrustworthy or biased, effectively poisoning the audience's perception from the start. In the world of The Boys, Vought International utilizes this tactic by systematically labeling any critic or whistleblower as a radical anti-soup extremist or a foreign operative before their evidence can reach the public. By framing anyone who questions the safety of Compound V as someone who simply hates heroes or wants to leave America defenseless, Vought ensures that the public views legitimate warnings as malicious propaganda, allowing the company to maintain its profitable drug-fueled status quo. Ultimately, these fictional empires thrive on one thing: our willingness to stop thinking for ourselves. While we may not always have the power to change the massive political or corporate machines that surround us, we possess absolute control over our own minds, our own actions, and our own souls. The elites of these stories want people to trade their empathy for chance to belong, peer pressuring us to prove our loyalty by attacking the social outcasts they've labeled as enemies. But true strength isn't found in joining a shouting mob. It's found in the quiet, stubborn refusal to let your morality be compromised. In times of civil unrest and manufactured chaos, the most rebellious thing you can do is remain kind, stay critical, and refuse to hate the people you are told to fear. You are not a serial number in a First Order Legion or an asset on a Vought spreadsheet. You are a free thinker. Safeguard that freedom, protect your heart from bitterness, and remember that even if you can't shift the world's tides, you can always choose not to be swept away by the herd. And leave a comment if this kind of analysis resonates with you. Please consider subscribing. It really helps the algorithm recognize the value of these psychological deep dives and allows this channel to grow.